Joining us now with stories trending around the world is OjyOkpe, who after this program is going to celebrate Thanksgiving because we've been waiting since yesterday.
Yes.
Is even dancing.
It's Thanksgiving in America. Good morning, happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to our United States citizens out there. Happy Thanksgiving. And we have Vimbai Mutiri Ekpeyong in Abuja with us today again. Vimbai, please, what is happening? When are you coming back? I hope we'll see you here tomorrow. Vimbai.
I will be back. If Turkey is involved, yes. I will be on the next flight.
I have a special turkey.
My long throat for turkey.
I have special turkey for you, Vimbai. Well, all right. Well, good morning to you, viewers. Let's begin what's trending in Guinea-Bissau, where military officers have seized control of the government after President Umaro Embaló and his main opponent, Fernando Dias, both declared themselves winners of the presidential election before official results were released. The military suspended the electoral process, closed all borders, and shut down airports, resulting in election observers being trapped in the country. Nigeria's former president, Goodluck Jonathan, is one of 36 high-profile observers from the African Union, ECOWAS, and the West African Elders Forum, currently trapped in the country following the military coup d'etat.
I am hopeful at the moment. We have always dreamt of a peaceful Guinea-Bissau, full of love and harmony. I ask my Guinean brothers to remain calm, because whatever happens, it will be for the benefit of all Guineans.
All right, Dr. Abati, your boss is involved. I'll take some reactions before I come to you. Alien wrote on X, saying Africans have a special way of sending a message to the world that they are not mature for a democratic governing system. It seems alien to our people, and I think we need to admit it at least. Another ex-user wrote, this calls for an immediate intervention by the Nigerian government to begin a rapid process of evacuating the former president of Nigeria from Guinea-Bissau. Finally, Okocha wrote on X, I will want to believe that he's safe. This foreign observation business is no longer a joke in these African countries. If you go to rubber stamp corrupted elections, you may never come back in the future. Good luck to good luck. Good luck to good luck. I thought that was. This is an awkward situation for Nigeria's former president, Goodluck Jonathan. I mean, he went to Guinea-Bissau to ensure democratic elections, only to get caught in a military coup. ECOWAS and the AU have condemned the coup. The question now is, how will they secure the release of their own observers while simultaneously demanding restoration of constitutional order? This is, really an awkward situation.
Well, President Jonathan is chairman of the West African Elders Forum, and he founded that body, and along with other African leaders, they monitor the electoral process, the democratic process, not just in West Africa, but also across Africa. And, he has done a lot in that regard since he left office. Now in Guinea-Bissau, we have a situation whereby President Jonathan and other international observers who were waiting for the announcement of the presidential and parliamentary elections that took place on Sunday. The announcement was to be made on Thursday this week. That's tomorrow. Yeah. And then, or is it today? It's today.
Thursday. Today.
Yes, Thursday is today. And then you have this situation at about 1900 GMT yesterday, whereby a group that calls itself the High Command of the Presidential Order, or what do they say? The High Military Command for the Restoration of Order, led by General Dennis Nkanha, who incidentally is the head of the military household in the presidential palace. Then what have they done now? They've suspended the democratic process. They have ordered a curfew. They have closed all borders, land, sea, and air. They've detained the president, Umaro Embaló, the chief of the army, his deputy, the prime minister, and also the other second leading candidate, Fernando Dias. Now, what is the cause of this problem? Sissoko Embaló, 53-year-old, became president of Guinea-Bissau in 2019. His term was supposed to end February 2025. He had even said he was not going to run again. But now we were told he wants to realize the ambition of being the first democratically elected person to win 2 consecutive terms. Since Portugal became independent from, since Guinea-Bissau became independent from Portugal in 1974. So he claims victory ahead of the announcement of the result. Fernando Dias also claims victory. You have the Prime Minister, Pereira, supporting Fernando Dias, and that's why, you know, these military soldiers have moved in. Now, we have seen since 2021 democracy being in retreat. Beyond when we were celebrating the consolidation of democracy in Africa, we have now seen in Guinea-Bissau, which is the latest, we have seen in Gabon, we have seen in Burkina Faso, Niger, Chad, and Guinea-Conakry. So it's a very sad development, and it's very good that AU has condemned, ECOWAS has condemned, but they must go beyond that. The international observers that have been caught in the crossfire in Guinea-Bissau, every effort should be made to get them released, to allow them passage. The Nigerian president should call this Nkaha, whatever his name is, and tell him that he cannot keep a former president of Nigeria in Guinea-Bissau, a country of 2.1 million people, keeping our president.
Imagine that, Dr. Abaribe.
No, the president should step up and say, I'm sending a presidential jet. You will release former president of Nigeria. And then, you know how they do it. You know, there will be some threats.
Yes, we need Jonathan.
Who are these people? So, and then the other international observers too, every effort should be made to get them free.
All right.
It is ironic, however, that President Jonathan, who in 2015 willingly respected the will of the people and handed over power and conceded defeat, Embaló, it wasn't clear enough to him to say that with this chairman of West African Elders Forum, here, if they say I've lost the election, I should just respect myself. But that is the crisis of leadership that you have, not just in West Africa, but across Africa.
All right. I'm glad that you called on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to intervene. I mean, this is really getting out of hand. West African nations are turning into a coup hotspot. It shouldn't be. Meanwhile, the Senate has resolved to amend Nigeria's Anti-Terrorism Act to prescribe a death penalty without the option of a fine for all kidnapping offences, removing all judicial discretion in sentencing. The resolution followed a motion by Senator Abdul Ningi, who urged the Senate to classify kidnapping as a terrorist offence that would automatically attract the death penalty, irrespective of circumstances or jurisdiction.
Kidnapping now pays more than oil. Kidnapping pays more than sitting as a senator or sitting in the villa. And therefore, as lawmakers, what do we need to do? We now look at kidnapping and say we must amend our laws to say kidnapping is a terrorist act and must therefore be treated as such and must therefore carry the death penalty.
Well, the Senate witnessed a heated debate on Wednesday as Abia South Senator Enyinnaya Abaribe berated the government's failure to hold the military accountable for withdrawing troops from the Kebbi school just before the abduction of 24 students. Abaribe insisted that real governance requires confronting the uncomfortable truth of who ordered the pullout and demanded accountability. Let's take a look.
The governor of Kebbi said that somebody ordered troops out and people were kidnapped. Till today, nobody in Nigeria knows what happened. And no question has been asked. And we are sitting down here as a parliament and we turn and we talk. Yet, somebody is responsible. If I'm the commander-in-chief, I will call the army commander in that place and the head of the army and say, if you don't get me the head of this person who withdrew the troops to put all these children in jeopardy. then you make an example of him. That is how a country is run. A country is not run on pacification. A country is run on confronting issues. I rest my case.
That was a powerful speech. Well, Akpabio has directed Senate Leader Okweyemi Bamidele to urgently prepare an amendment to the Anti-Terrorism Act to ensure that once kidnapping is established in court, a death sentence must follow. Currently, Nigeria's Anti-Terrorism Act only prescribes death penalty for kidnapping when the offense results in the death of a victim. But here is the problem. Despite the frequency of attacks, many kidnapping cases end up with victims being released and no arrests. So the real question also follows. How do you execute kidnappers when there are no arrests? Vimbai, we know that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has declared a nationwide security emergency, directing the Nigerian police and armed forces to recruit more personnel to deal with insecurity across the country. Well, in a statement posted on the president's X page, Tinubu called on the police to hire 20,000 new officers to bring the planned intake to 50,000. The president commended agencies for their work in rescuing the schoolgirls in Kebbi and church worshippers in Kwara State, vowing to sustain his administration's efforts to bring back the students still being held in Niger State. I mean, this is also a commendable effort by the president at this moment, by ordering for more boots on ground. I'd like your thoughts on the Senate's push for the death penalty for kidnapped victims at this point. Like I asked in my earlier question to you, Vimbai, we are not seeing arrests. We had 24 girls from Kebbi released, then we had 38 from Kwara released, no arrests. Great upticks with the death penalty, the call for the death penalty. Would we really follow through?
Well, I want to begin by quoting the president himself in June of this year when he visited Benue State and he turned towards the police commissioner, or was it the IGP, and he said, "Why have there been no arrests?" And, this is life. Life is somehow poetic because we now come back around and we ask ourselves the same questions now. Why have there been no arrests? Well, the Senate is rightfully arguing around punitive measures, advocating for higher punitive measures because, of course, the thinking is that if there's the highest level of punishment, then it should deter people from committing these crimes. Well, like you rightfully said, Oji, number one, how do we execute people that have not been arrested? But beyond that, there are currently over 3,500 inmates on death row in Nigeria. Well, those are the numbers as of 2024, as published by the Nigerian Correctional Services. So ultimately, let's not be performative in our rage and in this moment that we are trying to see how to resolve this issue. And I call it performative because we know that when it comes down to the crux, very few governors historically have been willing to sign off on death warrants. So in essence, all we're doing is we're crowding the prisons. I say that we go for practical solutions that are enforceable. The death penalty itself, especially in this modern time, beyond the broader global conversation around the death penalty itself, implementation in Nigeria, because of the moral optics and of course because of the political optics as well, has not been efficient. So I say let's focus on holding our forces accountable. Let's find out who ordered the withdrawal of those troops just before the Niger State pupils were abducted. Let's find out why there are so many lapses with regards to our military being able to enforce some of their missions. What happened? Who leaked the memo from the Brigadier General Sani that led to his execution? Those are the types of probes and leaks I think I would like the Senate to focus themselves on and to direct themselves. Because as we get more boots on the ground, as we follow the directives from the president, we need to ensure that the systems work. Right. So, we can't it's important to get more numbers in, but if we're throwing more people into a system that is corrupted within itself, we'll still face similar challenges. So I think, yes, important to see the Senate making this a topical issue, an issue of importance. It was a non-partisan issue. However, let's also not become performative in doing so.
All right. Well said, Pimbai. Well said. Meanwhile, the Muslim Council of Elders, under the chairmanship of the Grand Imam Al-Azhar, Dr. Ahmed Al-Tayyib, has vehemently condemned the kidnapping of students, teachers, and staff from St. Mary's Catholic School in northwestern Nigeria. In a statement issued from Abu Dhabi over the weekend, the council affirmed that targeting children and educational institutions is a heinous crime that contradicts the teachings of Islam and all divine religions, violating the most basic ethical and human values, as well as international laws guaranteeing children's right to education and a safe life. The council expressed solidarity with the families of the abducted victims and called for urgent international action for the immediate release of all hostages and enhanced protection of educational institutions. Well, this is significant. One of Islam's most respected institutions is publicly denouncing these kidnappings as anti-Islamic and calling them heinous crimes. This condemnation directly contradicts those who try to justify these attacks using religious rhetoric. We hope that this powerful religious voice from the Muslim Council of Elders will influence local clerics and communities to actively resist the terrorists. Meanwhile, the Diocese of Kaduna Anglican Communion has announced the death of Venerable Edwin Archie, the priest in charge of Ebenezer Anglican Church in Ungwan, Majero, who was kidnapped alongside his wife and daughter on October 28th. The diocese confirmed Archie's death on Wednesday night, describing it as a painful loss to the entire diocese. The priest was abducted when bandits broke into his house in Nisi community, Chinkun local government area of Kaduna State, near the Kaduna refinery. The kidnappers later contacted the family demanding 600 million naira ransom and released photos showing the couple in distressed conditions alongside other captives who appeared malnourished and tied in chains. His wife and daughter remain in the hands of the kidnappers, with the diocese calling for prayers for their release. Well, this is heartbreaking, Ayo. The priest has died in captivity after nearly a month of being held. His wife and daughter are still being held, probably traumatized by witnessing his death. I mean, this story, broke my heart. This priest is from Ukwan. I mean, this is heartbreaking, really.
It's really heartbreaking, and when we hear stories like this, especially when we have the opportunity or when we see the pictures of these abductees or kidnapped victims in captivity, the hope and the prayer is that they will come out alive. So when we hear stories like this, it's stark, it's real. The number of unreported incidents like this where people who are kidnapped end up dying. And, it goes back to that conversation around whether or not there ought to be a death penalty for kidnappers. And, there have been arguments here and there, but when you look at the devastation of what kidnapping does to communities, to families, to people's lives, you can then understand why there's a call for very stiff punishment. In fact, the stiffest of all punishments, which is the death penalty. In addition to this, one of the girls that were kidnapped, the family, I think 3 girls, their dad apparently died of a heart attack, and this was revealed during one of our sister broadcasts here on Arise News, where the CAN chairman had said that as a result of heartbreak. I'm mentioning this story so that we can understand the depth and the seriousness of the challenge before us, and why it's been said again and again that we must show and demonstrate the fact that we are ready and willing to end kidnapping. Now, to a very important story, and I think perhaps one of the most powerful voices that has arisen since this conversation around, attacks in the north, insecurity and in Nigeria and so on, is the voice of the Muslim Council of Elders. The best way to attack a lie is to present facts, is to prevent an alternate fact to this matter. Now, a lot of times we looked at Boko Haram, we looked at terrorists and how they have indoctrinated ignorant, I would say, community members by distorting the teachings of the religion, by saying, oh, this is what will be done. And we've had so many accounts on this. You would get, virgins, you get this, and people do not even know what the truth is. The custodian of the, at least leaders in this religious circle, should come out boldly and speak out against this so that their followers can hear them. This is why we say that we must engage all leaders at every level. We want them to come out to publicly condemn these actions, even wanting them to speak against stoning of people and indiscriminate jungle justice. Yes. They must speak out against these things, because the strongest voices will be the voices of those who belong to that community and leaders that they look up to. That's why I'm proud of the fact that they've come out to speak, and that speaking must be sustained. It's not just one-off, and we must have a sustained communication around this is evil, this is not right, this is not part of our religion, so that people can stop the false tagging of certain religious dispositions as being, violent, as being extremist. Not all are extremists, and it's important that we continue to put this out there. Great move by them, and I hope that it must be sustained. Not just one-off, but a collective voice amongst imams and, of the Muslim faith and the Christian faith to say that we do not support this. This is wrong. This is against our religion. Great move there.
Yes, the Venerable Edwin Archie has died in captivity after 1 month of trauma. Now we're calling on the security forces. His wife, his daughter is still being held in captivity. We would want for them to use the same conversation or connection or whatever it is that they use to release our, kidnapped Kebbi girls, Kwara girls, to get them out, and the other people that are still being held in captivity for a long time. May his soul rest in peace. We pray for the release of his daughter and wife. In another development, security analyst Zagazola Makama has criticized Nigeria's selective outrage over violence, citing the case of 2 Catholic priests murdered by IPOB elements 3 months ago that received little attention. In a post on X, Makama noted that Fathers John Igwebweze and Matthew Eya of the Catholic Diocese of Nsukka, Enugu State were brutally murdered by armed members of IPOB and ESN group, the killers claiming responsibility. However, there were no trending hashtags, no condemnations from pulpits, no fiery commentaries from activists, and no international calls for inquiries. The Post claimed that the Christian Association of Nigeria remained silent, offering no statement or call for international attention. Makama questioned why Bishop Wilfred Anaigbe of Makurdi Diocese, who is at the center of the row between the United States and Nigeria over alleged Christian genocide, kept numb about the incident. Well, Makama is exposing the uncomfortable truth. Outrage in Nigeria often depends on who the perpetrator is, not on the value of lives lost. So he claims 2 Catholic priests murdered by IPOB get silence, while similar attacks attributed to terrorist headers generate international campaigns. Well, in the same vein, a video of a young woman calling out the convicted IPOB leader, Nnamdi Kanu, has gone viral on social media. In the clip, which was released on Tuesday, the woman stated that the Biafra movement is not something that all Igbos are in support of. She then condemns Kanu directly, saying that he single-handedly put the Southeast in disarray. Let's take a look.
The Biafran movement is not something that all Igbos are in support of. So stop trying, I need people to stop trying to mash us into one. There is a divide already on this movement. Before IPOB, there was MASOB. How did MASOB run their agenda so peacefully? But when it was time for the IPOB, we are having chaos. The East is not what it used to be. We can't travel anymore. The UGMs are in play. The ESN are in play. My state is in shambles because I am from the same state as he is. You can't come out on Mondays anymore. You move, you get killed. Why is nobody saying anything about that? We are more worried about one man who put the whole of the East in disarray for doing the wrong thing. There's tyranny, there's treason. Are we going to advocate for a tyrant? You want a cessation, you do not go about it the legal way. and you put everybody's lives from the East into problems, and then you want us to stand behind violence? Has any of you taken the time to listen to Nnamdi's radio channel for 1 hour and hear the amount of hate? The hate! If I'm not in support, I'm not in support. You can't use my political ambition or my political stance to hold it against me that I'm not speaking up.
Well, online, Dr. Abati, some have said, that a lot of Southeasterners feel the same way she does, but won't say anything publicly, while others question how his life imprisonment will stop the violence or improve the condition in the Southeastern states. Your thoughts on the two stories?
Quickly, I think the lady from Abia State, she's from Abia State, should be commended for her boldness, for her courage in expressing herself. In that video, she started by saying Igbos are very smart people, book smart, street smart, business smart, and that nobody should accept or assume that every Igbo person, just because he or she is Igbo, is supporting the Biafra movement. And it is wrong to keep saying every Igbo person should get into this trap of emotional responses that seems to be dominant. And she's not alone in this regard. Senator Okpe, when he commented on the subject, said exactly the same thing, more or less, to say that about 30,000 lives have been lost. Who is going to account for that? Livelihood has been disrupted in the Southeast. Who is going to account for that? And that people should just stop saying, oh, because you are Igbo, then you must support Nnamdi Kanu emotionally. There's also the case of Ms. Oge Onugbogu, who gave a testimony at the U.S. Congress, who made the point that, look, the situation in Nigeria is far more complex than is being reported, and that we should avoid the error of the single narrative. Now, it's the same thing that that gentleman that you quoted, Zagozala Makama.
It's an analyst group.
Makama is an easier name to quote. Saying that, look, they don't look at the crime. They look at who the perpetrator is. And he's talking about stereotyping. That in every community, you have bad and good people. You have criminals, you have extremists everywhere. Now, 2 priests were killed in the East. He says he has not heard anything about them. Nobody is saying anything. People are silent, including the most vocal persons commenting, because it doesn't fit into the narrative of Christian genocide. Because in the East, in this case, it will be the
Christian against Christian.
It's Christian against Christian.
Yeah.
And the perpetrators, of course, owned up to the responsibility. They claimed responsibility.
Yes, sir, yeah.
So he said, why is nobody talking about that? And that's just one example. There will be many. So there will be many. So I also think Mr. Makama, is making a very good point about the need for care, about the need for people to just be careful, and not just be unusually emotional. Yeah. He said they talk of Fulani herdsmen all the time. Who is talking about the Igbo killers too? Right. Finally, on the question of death penalty, which was being recommended on the floor of the Senate. Death penalty is already in our laws. It's in the criminal code, it's in the penal code, it's in the Sharia law, particularly with cases such as armed robbery, treason, murder, because under Section 33 of the 1999 Constitution, every Nigerian has the right to life.
Yes.
Nobody should be killed. Look at one video where kidnappers were even addressing the students before releasing them in a country where we have law enforcement agents. But the problem with the death penalty is that Nigeria is a signatory to the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, which says, death penalty is not accepted. Also, many of our governors, if you give death penalty, many of these governors, they don't like to sign. They will say they don't want to be the ones to kill somebody. And then we have a shortage of hangmen. It's not a popular profession. Right. So many people have gone to church, they've gone to mosques. There's so much evangelism. Nobody wants to be a hangman. Because under our laws, it's either by execution or by hanging or by lethal injection.
Yes.
So who wants to go and kill another human being.
Right. Well, I'd like to take the story of the Southeast governors, but you know, you made a very valid point, Dr. Abati, about insecurity affecting all, and we should all speak. The issue about, can I have the story of the Southwest governors, and the issue about whether or not, you know, the priests are not speaking up for other priests that have died because they are in the Southeast region. I mean, it should also be amplified. Everyone should keep speaking, whether it is Edwin Archie in Kaduna State who just passed, or the priest in, what was the state again? One of the Southeast states in Enugu, I believe. We should all speak up. We should all speak up for every Nigerian. Every Nigerian life matters. Meanwhile, Governor Dakwa Abiodun hosted the joint meeting of the Southern Governors Forum and the Southern Nigeria Traditional Rulers Council in Peru on Thursday to address security, governance, and economic stability while reaffirming commitment to a united Nigeria. Major resolutions adopted include establishing a zonal security fund, advocating for state police, and creating a unified resident identification program. The meeting concluded with a vote of confidence for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and a commitment to working for the progress of the Southeast region and the entire country.
The forum will state its support for a Southern president and in person of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Nigeria remains united, we remain indivisible, and we are committed to peaceful coexistence across religions, religious and cultural lines. The forum pledged to continue speaking with one voice, advancing the collective interests of the South and working collaboratively with the federal government to promote peace, prosperity and progress for all Nigerians.
This is what we need to see. We need to see this collaboration to fight for peace. Dr. Abati said you had praised your governor, but I mean, he's doing very well hosting the, Southern governors. You were going to say something.
Yes. And each region is now waking up to seeing that what we used to say was in the north is now moving to the south. And let's be proactive. I think the key word is the proactiveness of these governors to come together to find a solution to insecurity, and that is commendable. We often talk about the fact that subnationals must also take responsibility even as we face the federal government.
All right, congratulations to Dakwa Abiodun. Would like to take our milestone story. Dr. Dakwa Abiodun. Prince Dr. Dakwa Abiodun.
Yes, please.
Kudos,
address him properly.
I don't want it to be doom and gloom all the time. I mean, it was a great story. I just want to take our milestone story now. Shall we take our story on the milestone? To celebrate Nigerian superstar Ayodeji Balogun, widely known as Whizkid, whose remarkable journey from the streets of Surulere to global stardom is now chronicled in a new HBO documentary. Directed by Karam Jill, the film traces Whizkid's evolution from a young Lagos talent into a world-touring star who filled Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in London. The documentary highlights the pivotal moments that shaped his sound, his breakout into the global market, and his role in pushing Afrobeats into mainstream consciousness. It weaves in commentary from figures such as Femi Kuti and chronicles the milestones that defined Whizkid's rise, including chart-topping collaborations with Drake, Beyonce, and the global impact songs like Essence, which reinforced his status as a boundary-breaking force in modern music.
Afrobeat is the genre the fella Kuti created. He pushed the boundaries musically.
Fela Kuti was a big instrument into why I believed I could really make music.
This is the first time that we're doing the stadium show. That's a lot of pressure.
Nigeria as a whole, they look at him as this beacon of hope. For him to be the flag bearer, it has to go well.
This is big.
Look, it's our time. Listen to us now.
This is definitely just the beginning.
Congratulations to Whizkid. This is well-deserved international spotlight from Surulere to the global stage. I mean, this is just a testament that our young people are our future and we need to protect them as always. I wish we had comments from Bimbai as well. I'd love to thank you all for your great analysis as always on what's trending. Congratulations, Ayodeji Balogun Whizkid. Well, that's all I have for you guys on what's trending today. I'll see you all tomorrow.
Only you feel my